What's up today? Wait, wow, off to a great start. What's up, everybody? Today, that's what I meant to say. We're going to be going through my Appalachian Trail 2018 gear list and talking about why I had the things that I had, what worked, what didn't work, and we're just going to kind of reminisce a little bit about that. Full disclosure, this was not my idea. I am 100% directly ripping this off from Homemade Wanderlust. She just posted a video like a few weeks ago, I think, doing this exact thing. I had never thought of this idea before I saw that video, but I thought it was a good idea. Just to be totally transparent, I am 100% taking that idea from her. So Dixie, thank you for coming up with that idea. Not that you're gonna watch this, because you won't. So that's what we're gonna be doing. I do wanna say before we get into it, my gear in 2018 was a lot different than what I have now. I was on a much tighter budget back then. I had just graduated college. And so a lot of my gear was like super budget gear or gear I had already accumulated over the years. It wasn't bad, like it worked. I did the whole trail with it, but it's not the best. So I think if you're gonna take anything away from this video, it's that it's really easy to get caught up in like all the newest and like latest and greatest gear and all that stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I just want to make it clear, like you can still absolutely do a thru hike of the Appalachian Trail with not the latest and greatest gear. You know what I'm saying? In fact, I met tons of people out there who had gear that was arguably even worse than what I had, and they still made it too. So that's the point I'm trying to make. I also want to make the point that you should subscribe to this channel because we're gonna have some crazy announcements about our plans for 2022. Some long thru hikes in the work, or one long thru hike coming very soon. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of that stuff. Let's get into it. All right, so we got the old gear grams pulled up here. So if you're not familiar, Geargrams is basically like lighterpack.com, except it's older and arguably shittier. In fact, it's not even like secure anymore, so I probably wouldn't recommend you use it, but this is just where I have all my information, so we're gonna be looking at it. I'll also say that I'm pretty sure a lot of these weights might not be, I mean, they are accurate, but this says my base weight was 12 pounds. I feel like it was heavier than that because that's like close to what mine is now, and I definitely have lighter gear now. I don't know, but we got our breakdown here. Shelter accounting for 1/4 of my weight, as we're gonna talk about in just a second. I did not have the lightest hammock setup in the world by any stretch of the imagination. Clothing, another big chunk, and then I have all these random categories. I made this list again, like, back in 2018. So let's get into the first category here. We got clothing. What did I take for clothing? And the first thing on the list here is this Clarkson fleece, which I actually have right here. This is not something that I would take if I had to do it again. In fact, I've had the opportunity to take this on other hikes and I haven't brought it. It's just a normal like polyester athletic fleece. I actually didn't even buy this. I found it. Someone left it at my house when I was in college and I just took it, but it was pretty warm, but it was honestly pretty overkill. I definitely could have gotten a lighter fleece than this. What's it say here? 9.52 ounces. It's also like a size too big for me, so I was just carrying extra weight with this. So I don't know. It was all right, but wouldn't take it again. You live and you learn, man. The next thing on the list here is my down jacket. This Sierra Designs down jacket. So this down jacket is, I'm pretty sure they don't make this anymore, but I actually used to write for the Trek way back when. Haha, good times. And so I did a review of it back then. And so look at this. Got some nice sideways picture there, but that's the jacket. I took oh my God, look at this. God, I look like a creep. I'm not sure why these are sideways, but yep, that's me, and that's the jacket. It was a great jacket, 12.5 ounces, so a little bit on the heavier side. My jacket now is a little bit lighter than that, but still like a pretty good jacket, and it was warm as hell too. I carried it the entire trail, which I probably didn't need to do. I probably could have sent it to like New Hampshire and picked it up there because I started really late on the Appalachian Trail. I started May 14th. I did use it as a pillow, and I did use it a couple times before it got cold, and then once it got cold, I was really glad I had that thing. So overall, again, I don't think they make this jacket anymore, but I'm a fan. The next thing we have here is long underwear, which I don't even need to show you guys this because as you see right here, it's an old pair I've had forever. I still have it too. It's just like a basic like polyester tights, like nothing fancy, nothing Patagonia or anything like that. And 5.32 ounces, a slightly lighter pair. It got the job done. Again, I carried these the whole trail. Probably didn't need to for the warmth aspect, but it was just nice to have like something I could change into at the end of the day. Although walking around in long underwear was kind of awkward if my junk was kind of... So maybe you should probably wear pants. Don't do what I did. But for the most part, I would just put these on at the end of the day and, Junk be damned. People probably could see my junk, but I don't care. They were comfortable. The next thing on the list here is the old Frog Togs rain jacket. You guys are probably familiar with this. Here it is. It's this guy right here, the Ultralight 2. And yeah, I still use this rain jacket to this day. 100% recommend this jacket. I think I had this color right here. One jacket lasted me the entire trail, and that might surprise some of you because this jacket is like pretty thin. It almost feels like Tyvek. It's just very thin, lightweight material, but it kept me warm and it kept me dry, and it's so good and so cheap that, you know, I have a different jacket now, but I still have Frog Togs. And then the last thing for clothing is the old darn Tough socks. You guys know Darn Tough socks, there's hands down best socks in the game. I wear these anyways, like even when I'm not hiking. Like, you see that right there? Yeah, it's the same one on the screen. How about that? Yeah, I brought 2 pairs, and I think I bought a new pair maybe like a couple times over the course of the hike, but I always carry 2 pairs with me. Again, still use these socks to this day, so I killed it with the sock game. All right, we're gonna get into the cooking stuff next here, but first, sponsor time. I need to say a huge thank you to Drink Element for sponsoring this video. If you guys are sweating a lot and you want like some awesome electrolyte drink mix while you're hiking and backpacking, Drink Element is what you need to get. And if you go to this URL right here, that's drinklmnt.com/KyleHatesHiking, you're gonna do that, and then you're gonna get a free sample pack of 8 amazing different flavors. You do have to pay the cost of shipping. It's like $5 if you're in the US. It's wicked cheap. Come on. You guys already know too, they have crazy flavors. Chocolate freaking salt. Look at that. Have you ever seen a chocolate salt drink mix before? I haven't. Mango chili. And like I said, you're gonna get all this stuff if you get the free sample pack. That's right here on your screen. Once again, drinklmnt.com/KyleHatesHiking. Guys, this company has been so good to me, supporting the channel, supporting my content, and they stand behind their products so much that they're gonna give it to you essentially for free just to prove how amazing it is. Like, how often do you see companies doing that, especially in like YouTube sponsorships? Like, nobody does that stuff. Like, they're not just trying to like get your money and just like dip like a lot of companies do. They're trying to show you firsthand how good their product is. I can attest to it. It's awesome. I love it. Drink Element, everybody. Thank you, Drink Element, for sponsoring this video. One more time, drinklmnt.com/KyleHatesHiking. Thanks, guys. Okay, let's get back to the gear here. So we're gonna talk about cooking. I have a bandana in here. Pretty sure I never actually had a bandana. I'm not really sure what that's about, but anyways, let's go on to the food bag. So basically, I started the Appalachian Trail with a Z-Packs food bag that I had for like a few years prior. It was pretty beat up, and so it only lasted me until, I wanna say, the NOC, which is less than 200 miles in. I think it was only like 100 and change miles in. I can't remember exactly. And then after that, I bought just like a Sea to Summit dry bag like this one, because that's just what they had at the outfitter there. And I use this for the rest of the trail. I will say though, I do not recommend this. I was not happy with this as a dry bag. The thing I don't like about this is the shape. Like these dry bags are fine for gear and stuff like that, but I don't like this shape for a food bag, because what ends up happening is I would like turn it sideways kind of like, so if you picture the way it looks right here, you know, flip that 90 degrees. So when my food bag was really, really full and I put it in the top of my backpack looked like a hammerhead shark. Like, it was just like really awkwardly shaped. It was really hard to get into my pack when it was full. And overall, it did not work that well. So I would definitely not recommend, I would recommend you just get like a bag that's actually made for food, maybe something from, again, Z-Packs or something with a better shape anyways. But next we have the stove. I was literally just talking shit about the Pocket Rocket in my last video, but that's okay because I had an older version. It was cheaper than the version that they sell now. So this is actually the version that I had. They don't make this version anymore, but only 3 ounces. It was fine. Again, I wouldn't buy the Pocket Rocket today because of the alternatives that are cheap on Amazon. I've talked about in 1,000 videos. I'm not gonna go into that now. Watch my last video if you wanna know. But this worked fine for me. I had it for years before the AT. By the end of the trail, it was like the stand thing was kind of starting to like get bent out of shape and stuff, but it worked fine for the most part. I had it with me. I probably wouldn't have bought this stove if I hadn't already had it before my thru hike, but it's what I had. We'll get into the electronics now. I carried an Android Galaxy S6. This isn't relevant at all anymore because this is a very outdated phone at this point. It worked fine. I did not use Guthook, the app, the navigation app, while on my thru hike, which was kind of dumb. I had a pair of just like cheap headphones, and I went through at least 5 pairs of headphones on my thru hike. I didn't use Bluetooth. I just used wired headphones just to make it easier. I would break them pretty consistently. At some point I'd be hiking along and then one of the earbuds would like lose sound, and then I would just be pissed because I'm like, I got like 2 more days till I get to the like town, and then I have to buy another pair. So that kind of sucked, but it is what it is. I always just bought cheap headphones. So for my power bank, I used an Amazon one. Wow, that's gone down a lot in price, I think, from when I bought it. I wouldn't recommend this one now. I just bought like a pretty cheap power bank. What's this? 10,000 mAh, I don't even know. And it worked fine, you know. I wasn't filming very much. I wasn't really doing, I wasn't using gut hook, like I said. So, I don't think I ever ran out of battery with this, but it's definitely good to have a power bank. So for the budget I had at the time and for my power needs, I think this did the trick. I didn't get this goofy looking blue color though. I had a black one. Next on the list, we got the old track phone. So this is a pretty funny story. I actually carried 2 cell phones on the Appalachian Trail. And the reason is because my normal cell phone was AT&T, and my family and I decided that, this is so dumb, instead of buying like a spot device or like a GPS, we just bought like a cheap track phone that had Verizon's coverage, so then I had both cell coverage, AT&T and Verizon. That way I just had more coverage. Looking back on it, there was no need for this, but it was sometimes nice when one phone didn't have power and the other one did, so I could like use my phone while I was on trail and stuff like that, because at the end of the day, that's what it's about. It's all about spending time on your phone when you're through hiking, and that's not true. And yeah, you get the joke. Anyways, and then of course I also just had a couple charging cables, just like your standard, and we don't really need to go into that. Next up, we got food stuff. Wait, I thought I already talked about my food. Oh, that was cooking. All right, Kyle. I don't know. I had so many damn categories here, but the first thing here, I just had like a little random like cloth sack that I just had lying around my apartment, and I used that, it's probably the size of my fist. I used that as my bear bag like sack, so I'd put a rock in that, and then I would tie it to my paracord, and then I would throw like that. And so, it's good. They make like actual like DCF bags that are meant for this, but I just used like a random one. And then I used paracord as my bear line. In hindsight, this was way too heavy, almost 4 ounces for paracord. I didn't need to do that. They make lighter weight stuff. I know Hilltop Packs makes some, what do they call it? Is it like Zing It? Just stuff like this. It's a lot lighter. I don't know if they probably don't have the weight. Oh yeah, see, it's made of Dyneema right there. So I would definitely do something like this now. It's a lot lighter than paracord, and it was just as strong. In hindsight, bad idea with the paracord. However, I had a great idea with this next item. This was my pot, the MSR Titan kettle. And I'm pretty sure, looking through this list here, I'm pretty sure this is the only piece of gear that I still have and use and will be using going forward from this Appalachian Trail gear list here. I love this pot. It's a little bit bigger than a normal pot here, 0.85 liters instead of like 700 milliliters, which I think most like pots are. Heats up really fast. It's super lightweight, and I like having a little bit more, like a slightly bigger pot, I guess. I like having a slightly bigger pot. I love this pot. It's a titanium pot, so it's never gonna break. So I'm probably gonna have this until the day that I die, honestly. And then actually I lied, because I still have this piece of gear too, my titanium spork. I bought this in 2016, and I still have the exact same spork. It's still going strong. I think maybe I'm gonna replace it with a longer handled spork, because I'm starting to eat more of those dehydrated meals, and it's nice to have a big old handle to kind of get down in there, but I still have it. It's still going strong, so, no regrets there. It never bothered me having a short handle once on the AT. However, having a short handle in real life sucks. On to some of this other random stuff. I guess I just have a pack section. You guys know what I have. I have the ULA CDT, and I still have this pack. However, I have a new one now, so it's not the same exact pack I used on the AT, but I used my ULA CDT that I bought in 2014 on my thru hike, and it was awesome. At one point, I almost was like having a problem with the hip belt because I was losing weight. I was cinching it down all the way, and it was like still not as tight as I wanted it. But then I hit Pennsylvania, and I started pigging the out, dude. I was eating so much food, and I actually gained a little bit of weight back. So the hip belt problem went away. And again, that's not the fault of the pack either. That's just, that's the fault of me. And then for my pack liner, I just had some trash compactor bags. I used the same bag too, like one single bag for the entire trail. I hiked through a lot of rain, guys. My gear never got wet once. And then on to the shelter here. So I used a hammock on the AT, something I haven't talked about in a long time, but I used a Hennessy hammock, and I loved it. It was amazing. I did use a different tarp, which we're gonna talk about in just a second, but this is the one that I had. No, I lied. It was the Hyperlight that I used. I put the wrong link in here. It was the Hyperlight. I was gonna say super lightweight. At the time, I think it was one of their lightest hammocks. I'm not sure what it is now because, like I said, it's been a long time, but I loved this hammock. I can't recommend this hammock enough. Again, I'm not sure about the weight. Maybe it doesn't make sense anymore, but I will just say that I got the best sleep of my entire life, hands down, on my Appalachian Trail thru hike. I was out like a light every single night except for like the first night maybe. I slept great, and I think that it was really like important for that because I had a lot of energy and I needed it because I was busting my ass every day, cranking out them miles, dude. Yeah, this worked out great. And then for my tarp, I had used the stock tarp that came with the hammock before on previous trips, and it's a little bit small. It will keep you dry, but I knew that I wanted something a little bit more because this was going to be like my house basically for the next however many months. And so I ended up buying a Amazon tarp, and the Chill Gorilla. Oh man, I still have this tarp too. I don't ever use it anymore. There are way better tarp options out there than this. As far as like the waterproofness and all that stuff goes, this tarp worked great, no complaints there, but it's just heavy. Like there's way lighter options you can get now. And like I said, they don't even make this freaking tarp anymore. But it was huge, so that was nice. I had plenty of space under there to like cook and hang out. Sometimes other hikers would come like hang out underneath the tarp when it was raining with me. It was just too heavy. And I was on this was like a budget. I bought this like shortly before I left. I knew I was just gonna get like a better tarp or a bigger tarp anyways. I wouldn't say it's a better tarp. And I just bought like a cheap one. That's all I had the budget for. And it worked out, but the weight savings, okay? You get my point. And then the one piece of gear that I did kind of splurge on shortly before my thru hike was this hammock gear quilt. And actually, I lied again about using gear back then that I still have now. I still have my my hammock gear quilt too, and it's still going strong. I said this in a previous video. I wish it wasn't. I wish I could replace it because it's so old and has so many miles now, but it's still just so good. I've never even washed the thing, which is stupid, but yeah, I have never washed it. I've put well over 2,000 miles on it. It's still going strong, so I'm probably going to use it going forward as well. I got a 30-degree one. It's downstairs. I don't feel like getting it. I got this like green color here, and I think I got the wide one because I knew that sometimes I would be sleeping in a shelter. Can't recommend this enough. And then we got the classic, the Z-Lite sleeping pad. You guys have seen this before. The accordion. Yeah, this little sucker right here. I used one of these on the AT. I used it in my hammock as insulation. I slept on it in shelters quite a bit as well. I mean, not gonna lie, it's not the most comfortable pad when you're just sleeping on the hard ground with it, but it got the job done. I still slept pretty well on it. And I also used it as the frame for my frameless backpack, as the ULA CDT, that pack I talked about a second ago. Frameless backpack, dude. So I used it for a bunch of different things, and it worked great. And then we'll talk about some of this last stuff here. I used the AWOL guide as my primary source of navigation and information while I was on the trail, and it was awesome. If you're gonna thru hike the Appalachian Trail, get this guide. I'm telling you, you can get it on your phone as a PDF, but what I did is I bought the actual hard copy of the book, and then I cut it into 4 sections, and I had my parents mail me the new sections, once I got closer, because I didn't want to carry the full book right from the start because you're carrying a bunch of information you don't really need, but I didn't want to like tear pages out while I was out there. It worked pretty well. I just had to be kind of on top of it. Like when I knew I was getting close to where my current book ended, I'd be like, okay, Mom, Dad, like, can you mail me the next one? And then, there'd be a little bit of overlap where I had to carry both of them for a couple days, but then I could send the other one home. I also wrote some notes in it. So like every day I just wrote like a couple little notes, some memories and stuff like that. And I'm really glad I did that. I'm glad I didn't tear the pages out and throw them away and stuff because I can look back on that to this day. And it's basically falling apart and some of the pages are coming loose now, but I still have it and it brings back some good memories. So definitely recommend the AWOL guide. Definitely recommend you use the Far Out / Guthook app as well, but these both complement each other really well. Also just had some DEET. That's pretty self-explanatory. I used this Princeton Tech headlamp. It was all right. I honestly wasn't super crazy about this headlamp, but it got the job done. I guess they make it still, but I wouldn't recommend this headlamp personally. I would recommend the NU25, the Nightcore headlamp. There'll be a link to that in the description. I use just like a Sea to Summit head net. I did carry like a little knife. I know people are probably gonna give me shit for that, but I carried this little knife. I don't think I ever used it on the entire trail, except maybe to like cut some cheddar cheese or something like that, but definitely would not carry a knife like this again. Again, it didn't weigh very much, 1.4 ounces, but I haven't really used this knife since then. I used a duct tape wallet. Look, I even marked the thing about cash being consumable. That's how you know I was thinking about UL even back in the day. And then for the filter, I just used the Sawyer. You guys know the Sawyer. Still what I use to this day and what I will be using going forward. Also a link to this in the description. Highly recommended. And then of course the classic thru hiker smart water bottles. You know, mine didn't have the weird indentations there, but you know, just I used 2 of these basically on the thru hike, and that's what I still do now. And then lastly, I also carried one 1-liter Sawyer bag extra water storage as well. Oh, this is only 0.5. Is this 1 liter? Oh, this is 2 liters. I carried the 1 liter version of this, okay? And that came in handy sometimes when I had to dry camp. I still carry an extra water bag like that. That's everything I carried. I've come a long way since then, but I also think for my budget at the time, for my experience at the time, I still had a pretty good setup overall. I spent a lot of time accumulating gear for years before I left, honestly, and I think I did a pretty good job. So hopefully you guys like this. Be sure to subscribe once again if you haven't done so already, because man, big announcements coming very soon about Flossie and I's plans for this upcoming hiking season. I'll give you a hint. It rhymes with prolific fest fail. So you can do the math there.